Today, President Biden continues to undercut the U.S. military by sending more military equipment in the never-ending war in Ukraine. Find out what he plans to send as we discuss with our amazing panelists today. Kevin McCarthy finally has the cojones that he finds them. Finally, he creates a committee to investigate the weaponization of the federal government. And Joe Scarborough, I have something planned just for you. We've got all of this and more today on the News and Why It Matters, and it starts right now. Okay, welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I'm Sarah Gonzalez, but I have to tell you, I'm going to have to start separating my panelists today because I'm going to put them on different days because they're so chummy. They just keep talking until the very point that we go on. They're like, oh my God. They're counting us in. They're like, oh my God.
And so we've dressed the same.
Yeah, you did. We've got
what are you wearing today?
Oh, let me show you.
Jason Buttrell, head writer and researcher for Glenn Beck, the Glenn Beck program, and Matthew Marsden, actor and producer extraordinaire. And they decided to wear the official News and Why It Matters uniform today because they are both dressed the exact same, and they claim they didn't plan it, but the way that they are talking off air, I'm fairly certain that they did.
Oh, I mean, but then you upstage us with your North Pole coat, and I mean,
can you blame me? It's 10 million degrees below zero.
I parked right next to your sleigh outside, like with all your reindeer.
You guys, they hear me walking in because I jingle.
But then the Brit shows up. We're like, what cold? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm afraid no, I will not be cold. I'll wear a T-shirt in all weathers. Thank you very much.
Jason, it's a really great day for you to be here. I feel like you are also kind of our stand-in military expert. And also, Matt has played one on TV.
I have, so. Which obviously I'm way more qualified.
More of an
than you to talk
expert,
about this.
okay,
Of course.
he did play one on TV. But very fascinating development in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Today, President Biden approved the United States to send 31 Abrams M1 tanks to Ukraine. This just comes after hours that the German chancellor said Ukraine would also receive Leopard 2 tanks from Berlin as Russia plans for a major offensive. Here is Joe Biden announcing that earlier today. Watch.
And today I'm announcing that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, the equivalent of 1 Ukrainian battalion. Secretary Austin has recommended this step because it will enhance the Ukraine's capacity to defend its territory and achieve its strategic objectives.
Now, Joe Biden said that, this Western aid to Ukraine is not an offensive threat to Russia. That's what he says. He said this is about freedom for Ukraine, freedom everywhere. And just for, I want to go back to an earlier story that we covered several weeks ago here on this program, which is that the military has already said, we're going to have to make some very serious decisions in the next 6 months to a year. The Secretary of the Navy is saying we can't keep arming Ukraine and expect to have our own defense mechanisms if anyone attacks us. Like, we're going to have to pick, do we need the equipment or are we going to send it all to Ukraine? Because we're running out of equipment here. We're running out of materials. And by the way, just as a reference point, one of those tanks that we are sending is worth $10 million. So you can do the math there. That's over $300 million that just poof, gone. Jason, I want to start with you here. What is your take on how all of this is transpiring? Because this seems to be a complete reversal from what the administration said just last week.
Yeah, so a lot to unpack here. And I've talked to you on this show before about, the overtness of a lot of this and how this is typical Cold War gamemanship and how Cold War wars were fought in the Cold War, but never this overt. Like, he's up there bragging about sending tanks, which is no small thing. 31 tanks, he said the equivalent of a battalion. That's roughly 3 companies in U.S. standards, I think. So that's a pretty big arsenal, especially when you consider in all the German tanks that are coming from multiple different countries. Now, the timing of this is interesting to me because he just said this will enhance their defensive capability, kind of insinuating that we're doing this to help them defend their territory. That's an outright lie because tanks, okay, there's two types of weapons that we'll send. Defensive, which would be like, you heard about the Patriot missiles, which is also another big move. That's a defensive weapon. You can even argue that combat drones are defensive. You know, they're taking out weapons as they're entering their company. Tanks are not defensive, they are offensive weapons. So this is not to enhance their defense, this is to enhance an operation that they have planned, which is very key and is very interesting because in the very beginning of the war, most of the people were kind of like we were helping defend them, giving them weapons and stuff and support, but we were kind of, or they were kind of worried about the possibility that Ukraine wins this fight, right? They were worried about how Russia would respond. This signals to me that they're not worried about that anymore. They're going all in on providing offensive weaponry to defeat Russia. Now, what does that mean? Well, we know that Russia has already annexed, you know, the rest of the world doesn't recognize it, but Russia does, annexed Crimea. Ukraine wants to take Crimea back. This type of weapon delivery is for that purpose. It's to retake territory, to invade territory that Russia believes is theirs. Eastern Ukraine, those breakaway regions, the Donbass area, and Crimea, they're looking, I would say, within probably by springtime or somewhere in between that time frame of actually invading that territory and taking it back. That's a huge escalation. But I really have an issue with the way Biden is posing all this as if this is a defensive thing. No, They are moving into a new phase in the war, and that's offensive. And Russia is going to see it that way. We are assisting in offensive operations now.
Well, they've already said as much, right? Like Putin has already said, if you guys start doing this, we see that as you guys waging war on us.
How is it not?
Right.
I mean, how is it you're giving them 30 tanks? How is it? Look, nobody seems to be talking about the fact that we all know about the dirty dealings with Burisma. We know about these links between Ukraine and Hunter Biden. And that's not relevant to this in any way, shape or form. There's no quid pro quo or anything. Like we're not going to ask any questions about why we're getting involved in something, quite frankly, that we do not need to be involved in. And secondly, how much are the American people going to take? We are on our knees financially, and we're sending all this money. It just seems like everyone else matters apart from us, right? Everyone matters apart from the guy that is trying to, he's busting his balls, trying to make a living, trying to provide for his family. You got people flooding over the border. No, let's not look at that. Let's not look at that. Let's send tanks to Ukraine. Like what? The United States needs to run the government needs to run the United States like we run our households, right? If you don't go and say, hey, listen, I'm going to go and buy a mower from a next door neighbor, right? I'm broke and I can't do I'm struggling to feed my kids, but I'm going to go and buy a mower from a next door neighbor because he's got long grass, right? You have to look after your own home first. They hate this country. It's really aggrieving. I mean, it is for everyone. Yeah. But as someone that came here, that loved this country, to see them just smash it to pieces. And look, I don't see how there's any other way you can look at this, but they are running the country into the ground. They're bankrupting us. Like you said, we don't have enough. We're not going to be able to even defend ourselves, right? With soldiers getting laid off. Listen, my son, he said, I want to go to West Point. There's no chance that I'd want him to go and join the military now. And I know all my military friends are like, don't do it. And these are the people that you need in the military, right? So we have a staffing problem, we have an equipment problem, and yet we're giving away, everything to another country. Like, it's none of our business, in my opinion, right? It's none of our business. If I was Russia and he said, do not put NATO troops in Ukraine, and we're like, we're putting NATO, how do people expect him to react? Imagine if we had this in Mexico. I mean, wasn't that the whole thing about the Cuban Missile Crisis? Is Russia is putting missiles on our doorstep, so we need to do something about it. It's the whole thing is so unbelievable. You feel, and I've seen this on social media, people feel like they're going out of their minds because they cannot believe what is happening. Like, everything is, it seems just completely nonsensical, and especially for Americans, don't they care about us? Aren't they meant to, for the people, by the people?
No.
They don't care.
No.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, they are so hyper-focused on Ukraine. since at least 2014, when the Bidens were getting into their dirty business, Burisma and all that, they were so hyper-focused on reshaping Ukraine, rebuilding it in a certain image. And I've gone back and forth in my mind trying to figure out why they are so willing to risk global war and basically everything, throwing all their chips in to Ukraine. Why Ukraine? And, when you see, and the 2014-2015 thing, when a lot of this started, kind of also coincided with the Great Reset before it was called the Great Reset, and that was the Paris Climate Accords. That's when they were trying to reshape society, societal reshaping, economic, reshaping, energy reshaping. It all basically started right there, everyone coming together as a world to say, look, we're going to flip everything upside down and do it this way. They were willing to hold Ukraine as a bargaining chip for Russia because they knew there were a couple of countries that would stop them. China, Russia, places like that. I think that has a tendency to make people probably on the right that would say, hey, maybe Russia is not necessarily the bad guys here. Don't make that mistake. Russia is a bad guy here. They want to control the world just like the globalists want to control the world. That's what makes us kind of an interesting third party here, because we're not on any of their sides. We don't think that there should be one global entity or country, whatever, controlling the world. We don't think that it should be Russia. We don't think it should be China. We don't think it should be the UN, or this new green Western, axis of evil. We're kind of like the outliers, which makes it kind of, the most dangerous ground to stand on because we don't have any friends here. It's really odd, but that kind of explains it, at least in my mind, why Ukraine is so important to them.
Yeah. But can I just say this as well? That there can be two bad guys in this. There doesn't have to be one good guy and one bad guy. They can both be bad guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we're being prevented from saying that. And another point is, I don't care who's in the White House. If someone invited me to the White House, if a president invited me to the White House, I would go. I'll be very respectful. I would wear a suit, a shirt, and a tie. Right? I don't know what kind of a man turns up to the Congress, turns up to meet the government of the United States and doesn't have the respect. I don't care if he doesn't respect the politicians. We don't respect most of them, right? Respect the American people. Wear a darn suit and a tie, right? Because this is America you're visiting here, and we deserve respect.
Yeah. That dude has more green T-shirts than I have sleeveless T-shirts.
Hey, listen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you guys have no room to talk. All right, I want to switch gears here, go to another part of the swamp. So House Speaker Kevin McCarthy rejected the nominations of Representatives Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, both, of course, from California, to the House Intelligence Committee. They were very, very, very upset. They got their little fifis hurt. But here is some of Kevin McCarthy's speech to reporters on the matter. Watch.
The Intel Committee is different. You know why? Because what happens in the Intel Committee, you don't know. What happens in the Intel Committee, although the secrets are going on in the world, other members of Congress don't know. What did Adam Schiff do as the chairman of the Intel Committee? What Adam Schiff did, use his power as a chairman and lie to the American public. Even the Inspector General said it. When Devin Nunes put out a memo, he said it was false. When we had a laptop, he used it before an election to be politics and say that it was false and said it was the Russians. When he knew different, when he knew the intel, if you talk to John Radcliffe, DNI, he came out ahead of time and says there's no intel to prove that, and he used his position as chairman, knowing he has information the rest of America does not.
Congratulations, Kevin McCarthy. You just found your balls. Good to know you actually have them. I'm great to see Kevin McCarthy 2.0. I don't know where he came from, but I hope he sticks around.
This was savage. It was just amazing. I loved it. What's amazing is these guys are crying wanting to be on the Intel Committee when we all saw what Adam Schiff did. He was a political hack that used his office to play games. Doesn't belong there. Swalwell?
Do you remember how many times he lied to the American public, to the mainstream media, said, we've seen all of these things. Donald Trump did this. We've seen proof of Russian collusion. There is proof of Russian collusion. It's going to be coming out soon.
The Nunes memo?
Yes.
Yeah, all of that. And so, I mean, the clear case for him not to be there. Swalwell, for crying out loud. There's no chance in hell that he would be able to qualify for security clearance at any level in the military, any kind of civilian contractor, nothing. They would shoo him out the door. In fact, they'd probably arrest him and have him thrown out just for applying there. But he wants to be on the Congressional Intelligence Community. Absolutely insane. And he has, talk about balls. He has the balls to like just go out on social media all the time, like trying to throw zingers. I'm like, bro, you banged a Chinese spy.
And he farted
Shut
on
up.
TV.
And he farted on TV.
I mean,
forget.
look, I mean, these people, I mean, they say send your best and brightest, right? I mean, he is, this plate has a higher IQ than Swalwell,
Yeah, but that,
right?
that might still be their best and brightest, Matt. Have you considered that?
This is true. I mean, but the thing with him, he's dumb, right? And Schiff is completely disingenuous. I mean, that man is, I don't know how you could live with yourself just going out and lying. But again, we've spoken about this multiple times on this show, is that they're not held accountable by the mainstream media. And what they do is they come out, they say something, the mainstream media takes it, they put it out, and everyone goes, oh, look, this is what, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know what they say, like a lie gets around the world, halfway around the world before like the truth gets its pants on or whatever. This is what is happening, and this is why, I mean, I've seen it in Europe, right? A really good gauge for me on how the rest of like mainstream media does in America is to see what my friends here in England and my friends in Malta hear. And they do not hear any of our side. It is utterly staggering. So these guys know they're never going to be held accountable. They flap their gums, right? They come out with lies, and then it's out there. And then you're always doing catch up to try and, you know, the truth does. It's like when someone comes out with an article, right, and you've seen it in the media, they'll come out, they'll lie about someone, then the retraction is like yay big on page 7. They're like, well, you know, we had to do this because legally we got blah, 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 blah. The damage is done.
Yeah.
It's like what they did with Donald Trump and the documents in the raid at Mar-a-Lago. Like they vilified the hell out of him. It was all in the media. All the talking heads were talking about how awful this is, how this disqualifies him from running for president. When they knew that all of the rest of them were guilty of it as well. They knew about Biden before the midterms, but they kept it quiet. And now even Pence has the cojones to come out and say, yeah, I had it too.
Yeah.
Why? Because now they feel comfortable. The damage has been done. The damage is still done. Even if we get to the next election, they'll still say, oh, but remember those classified documents that Trump had? Oh, it doesn't matter about the others. But they'll still think that he's guilty for that.
Yeah.
Damage has been done.
All right, we've got to take a quick break. We will be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So Patriot Mobile has really emerged as one of the leaders in the parallel economy, and they have big news. Thanks to you guys, you have helped them grow. They offer service with all 3 major networks now. This means that if you are with one of the big 3, Big Mobile, maybe you like their service, but you hate their values, you hate the fact that they're giving a portion of your money to all of these left-leaning causes you're fighting against, you got to try Patriot Mobile. They offer a performance guarantee, so if you're not happy with the coverage, you can switch between those carriers for free. As a reminder, they are America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They offer nationwide coverage on the best networks. You're going to get the same great service while supporting a company that is fighting to preserve our God-given rights and freedoms and the things that you are fighting for as well. You got to try them. Get free activation today with the offer code NEWS over at patriotmobile.com/news. That is patriotmobile.com/news. 2014. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York indicated earlier this week that she will not permit the hiring of healthcare workers who have declined to get the COVID vaccine, even though this vaccine mandate that she has implemented upon the citizens has A, been overturned in the courts already, and also B, she's got a serious healthcare worker shortage because of this. But she doesn't care. She is sticking to her guns. And gosh darn it, if you did not obey the government, she is going to continue to punish you for that. Watch.
It's a problem, but I don't think the answer is to have someone who comes in who's sick be exposed to someone who can give them the coronavirus, give them COVID-19. I don't know that that's the right answer. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. So we're exploring our options. But I think everybody who goes into a healthcare facility or a nursing home should have the assurance, and their family members should know, that we have taken all steps to protect the public health.
Okay. Again, I don't know where these people are getting their information. Even the CDC director has said that getting the vaccine does not prevent you from getting the virus and also spreading the virus. So you're literally doing nothing. Like, we've had this information for a very long time now. You're literally doing nothing to prevent any of these people from getting infected. You're not doing anything. It's almost like if I was a cynical person, I would say it's almost like Kathy Hochul is just mad that these people didn't do what she told them to do, and she doesn't want to relent because it's all about control and not about health at all.
Didn't the most recent studies say that the vaxxed and fully boosted are more likely to get COVID now than people that have never had a single jab at all? Pretty amazing. You're going to see, I think, a lot of this. It's going to be funny, and it's going to be a tiered response. It's going to be people like that they feel like they can't go back on what they did. So they're just going to continue to double down on it, even though they know that they are wrong. Then it's going to shift as more and more information is coming out. And I think information is coming out soon. I think information is coming out in the next 12 to maybe 16 months. That's just my guess. That, oh crap, there's a lot of data here that shows that we screwed up. This is not safe. We should not have mandated this or even released it yet. But then you're going to see them switch to, oh, I have to stick to my guns, to, oh, somehow it's our fault. It's going to be our fault. Somehow.
No,
I don't know
it's
how.
going to be Trump's fault.
It's Donald Trump's fault.
It's absolutely Trump's fault.
Totally agree.
That's the shift. That's
Totally
going to
agree.
come. You know what? What is it about these people that it is so fatal for them? It's like a mortal wound to be wrong. Like they just, it's just like crushing, right? That they can't say, you know what, we did what, and I have to say there's a certain other person that is not actually accepting the fact that he might have been wrong on vaccines right now, which I think will be very damaging to him in the long run, which is President Trump. I think that's a mistake. But it's clear it was not the right move, right? Like, we know that it doesn't stop transmission. We know that it doesn't stop infection, right? We know that. Everybody knows that now. Apart from the people that refuse to know it, and it's a mental condition. It has to be a mental condition. I don't know whether it's like denial because, hey, look, I got it and I'm really worried that it might be doing something to me, or whether it is like you say, I know this, right? Because I've lost work because they're saying you can't come on set, even though they swab you every day and, do the nasal swabs and everything, that, you got to be vaccinated, go on set, when it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever, right? I don't know what it is, or whether, that woman, like Swalwell, is one of the dumbest people I have ever seen. Like, you wouldn't ever hire, I would worry about them babysitting my kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because they are so stupid.
I think for some of them, it is kind of like a mental condition. I think people like her, I think it's catastrophic for their style of government. Because the one thing they cannot be seen as is incompetent, even though every politician on every side of the aisle is incompetent. But also that, they always say trust the science. You can trust the science. You can trust us. Empower us with all of this power and all of these levers over your life, because we'll take care of it for you. Now, if there's ever doubt in that, well, we're just going to stop voting for them. They're going to cease to have that power. They're not going to be able to have all this like hordes of power, all this stuff. Like, they're not going to be able to tell you what to do here, 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 and here. Shut your business down. You're not allowed to go here. Put that piece of cloth over your face, or else. They're not going to be able to do that if we don't think that they don't have their best interest at heart. If we don't think that we can't trust them unequivocally on everything. Like, this is huge for them. This is their entire model of governance.
Well, so on the topic of COVID, Joe Scarborough over on Morning Joe on MSNBC, he was very upset. He had like this little this fit about the fact that he didn't get his fourth booster, and so he got COVID, and he just wished that he.
Is it 4 now? They're up to 4?
Yes. And he's really upset, and so people were making fun of him, for obvious reasons. Okay, and he just, that hurt his little feelings. Here is what he had to say. Watch.
Listen, here's the deal, moron. If you get a flu shot, what do? Do you go to the doctor? Oh my God, you want me to have a 50th flu shot? No, you get a flu shot every year.
Right.
And as we're finding out with this pandemic, well, it lasts 6 months, maybe a year. So yes, put on your big boy pants, put on your big girl pants. And if you want to be healthy, I don't care. If you don't, that's your business. Smoke cigarettes, do whatever you want to do. Stay up all night, don't sleep. That's fine. Be unhealthy, your choice.
Oh, okay. So here's the deal, moron. That's what we're calling each other, right? Your little pea brain thinks taking 4 injections for something in 18 months is the same thing as an annual flu shot a year. I'm going to spell this out for you. Annual means 1. A year is 12 months. And I'm saying this because, like, it feels like you don't do math very well. So I just wanted to make that clear. Very interesting that now, did you hear that? It's my choice, okay? We're going to set aside that you just compared not getting a vaccine to chain smoking, and we can get back to that in a second, because I find it fascinating to hear you tell me it's my choice now what I decide to put in my body. Because even to this day, you have dictators like Kathy Hochul still trying to punish people for not abiding by the government mandating you inject yourself with something. And I seem to recall the whole lot of you guys clapping with glee like seals at the thought of unvaccinated people getting pushed out of their jobs, having their livelihoods taken from them, not being able to put food on the table for their families, being cast out of society, all because they didn't care to be a human guinea pig. But thank you, Joe, for finally coming around and seeing it our way. My body, my freaking choice. Thank you.
I don't know how I can follow that. Didn't this start because didn't he get COVID again?
Yes.
And he said something about getting his 4th.
Yes.
So there was a guy on Twitter that posts a lot of these videos out, making fun of them. I think that's who he was calling a moron, just pointing that out. And so I think it's just funny. He was so butthurt by a clip of a video on Twitter.
He got his little feelings hurt.
Yeah, that he decided to respond that way.
On his show, because he was butthurt that someone pointed out that he was a total idiot for being like, shoot, that's why I got COVID. I didn't get the 4th one in, again, 18 months. Last word.
I'm shocked.
Morning Joe has rendered Matt speechless.
These people are just so stupid.
I know.
They're just
and they're calling
stupid.
you a moron.
It's the epic gaslighting. They're doing it again. You're so stupid. Oh, how many times have you got COVID? Well, I didn't take the jab and I've had COVID twice, right? And the second time it was nothing, right? I don't worry about it. It's not a concern. And there he is. That because it becomes. It's like we forget virtue signaling. It's a part of his identity, right? And it's crushing to them that they now cannot say that they're so much better than you. You idiot. Because look, let's face it. The majority of people, by the way, the majority of people who didn't take it are free-thinking individuals, right? That went, hang on a minute, I'm not sure about that. The other thing is people that said, you don't tell me what I do, right? So, again, 2 things that are fatal to them, right? You can't have your own thoughts, and you certainly can't stand up for your own thoughts, right? But look, I've never smoked. I don't like smoking, but I absolutely do not think that smoking should be banned. It's not something that, it's like I don't think the big gulps should be banned. I don't think this, we have to be able to use our own discretion, our own minds to decide what we want to do with our bodies. I mean, the information's there if you want to have it. By the way, the information was there. And we've seen it now, like Bill Gates came out, right? And he said, well, we know that it really wasn't as fatal. I'm like, it was there. All you had to do was take your head from up your ass and look at the things that were there and say, yeah, people aren't dying all over the place. They came out, they said kids do not get it, or even if they do, it's asymptomatic, right? And now they're going, vax your kids. I'm like, if you couldn't see that there's an issue with that, I don't know what to say. No, I understand the peer group pressure. I get it. If you go over to Europe, they were all you couldn't go to a store. Literally, you couldn't go. And my family in Malta, they couldn't go to the store because they had to be vaccinated. They were tracking you, all this kind of stuff, crazy stuff, right? But in the this great country of ours, right? You did have a choice. You did have a choice. Now, they did force a lot of people, but this is the one country where people are going, hang on a minute, you're not infringing on my rights. And it's this control, it's the virtue signaling, it's I know who you are and who you vote for. And the funny thing is, do you notice how many people that were they might be vegans, and they're like, hey, listen, I'm not putting poison in my body. All of a sudden, they're right-wing maniacs.
Yeah, yes. So weird.
Yes,
such a weird phenomenon.
It is really weird. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back.
The hippies? What happened to hippies?
They're like, I only eat non-GMO, but I'm definitely going to take this untested. The North Carolina Association for the Education of Young Children apparently posts a documentary on their website called Reflecting on the Anti-Bias Education in Action, the Early Years. Now, this is, I'm gonna show you a clip of this, but this is a group of children. They're like 4 and 5 years old. They're getting a lesson on gender identity from their non-binary teacher by her showing them this doll and explaining that they don't have to be boys or girls. They can just be non-binary.
Do we know where this is?
I'm sorry?
Do we know where this is?
North Carolina.
North Carolina, okay.
We know because that's what I said at the beginning of the...
I was too busy trying to see if that's a book on that kid's head. That was freaking me out there. Zoned out.
Well, without further ado, let's watch some of this.
Friend likes to ask the question, are you a boy or a girl? And Mash answers, I'm just a kid.
But kids can be boys or...
They can be boys or girls. Yeah.
Maybe non-binary.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope. Nope.
Wow.
Nope. 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 Whoever taught that little child to say they, whoever taught the little child to say non-binary, straight to jail. Straight to jail. Throw away the key. Lock them up. Absolutely straight to jail. This is so criminal, and it just irks me because it's like, you heard the first answer, but the kids can be boys or girls. It's like, yes, we knew this in Kindergarten Cop. It's so easy that even kindergartners understand that boys have penises and girls have vaginas. It's really that easy. And somehow we have the mentally ill adults come in and complicate matters and confuse children on purpose to suit their agenda. It is good. I don't understand how these people don't see that they are abusing children in real time.
Yeah, and to talk about Kindergarten Cop, that line was so funny from that kid because it's like blatantly
Because you're like,
inappropriate.
yeah, duh, but also like, yeah, duh.
Yeah, but that's how we are now.
Right.
But then, to me, it was funny because you would never hear a kid say that.
Yeah.
It's not appropriate, for a school.
Right.
But now, that's the norm. They want to talk about this with kids that can barely have just learned how to talk.
Yeah.
It's blatant programming.
Yeah, now they're like, girls do have breasts, and also they can choose to chop them off if they want to identify as a boy.
I mean,
insane.
We already have a problem with mental illness in this country. It's getting worse. How bad is it going to get when these poor kids, if they continue in systems like this? But this has got to stop. I mean, we've made a lot of headway. There's been a lot of activist groups have made huge leaps and bounds on stopping this crap. I don't know how some of these states still have this crap in their schools. I don't know. Actually, I kind of do know because I'm even fighting it in Texas even still. What they do is, and this is a common leftist tactic, is they'll just change the name of it, right? So it's no longer comprehensive sexuality education. It's something else. Can't remember what, they just renamed it to something else. It's no longer CRT because we defeated that. We deleted that.
Right.
It's now called, then
SEL.
and even now it's moved on from,
DEI,
they just keep on rebranding it. When I was doing a registration for my kid in school, they had all these different programs that you had to opt in or opt out of. Right then, and it was brand new. I knew it was a red flag.
Yeah.
I requested the curriculum from it. They just ignored me, would not give it to me. I opted out of it, and I was like, "Don't worry, son. You're almost out of that school." I mean, maybe I'm wussing out on that. I should take that fight more and do something about it because this stuff is not going to stop until we stop it.
Matt.
I don't know if I can say what I really want to do to these people that do that. Because if we can't protect our kids, I mean, these people are just utter scumbags. And I mean, where am I? Dads, get your together, right? Look after your children. There's nothing more important than that. Your job's not more important than that. There's nothing more important than your children, right? What is there more important than looking after your kids? It just pisses me off. And you know what? People just outsource the upbringing of their kids. They send them off. Look, I get people all the time, you go, those kids. No, I'm involved all the time on every single aspect of their life, right? And it's not because I can afford it or this and that. It's because I'm a dad, and that is my number one job, right? I have to look after my children, and even more so now. Take your kids out the schools, homeschool, right? Find a Christian, normally you want to get a Christian coalition together. You are going to lose your children forever There's no going back from this. This is grooming. These people are evil. They're evil. Yeah, I don't care if they've got mental illnesses. I don't care. They need to get out of the business of grooming kids. It is disgusting. In the old days, they would have been taken out and had the shit kicked out of them outside, right? They would. That's just the way it is, right? This is how in our minds that these people, and you know what they do as well? They record themselves. They're happy about it. They think it's a virtuous thing. They're going to look at us. I'm telling these kids this and that. I'm polluting their mind and confusing them. So they'll mutilate themselves. And then when they get older, when they realize that, number one, they haven't been protected by their parents, especially dads, right? They've been groomed by someone and been groomed by somebody else, and then they've mutilated themselves. What's the end game to that? They're going to end up dead. This is a massive spiritual war. It is evil. These people are evil, and they should not be tolerated in any way, shape, or form. And I don't care if I'm cancelled for that, right? Because what's going to happen? Where we're going to be 5 years ago, could you even have comprehended this coming out? Like we are on a massive fast track towards the destruction of our society. And this is where, I mean, they're not even happy now with with the corrupt politicians and doing this. Now they're going straight for the kids, which has always been designated as evil.
I do want to say, I think this is your first time receiving this aircraft, so congratulations,
sorry.
Matt.
No, I'm not sorry, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, don't be sorry, actually.
I get that.
The network bleeper's like, Matt, dude.
I'm sorry, I just like...
No, you are not sorry. It needed to be said.
Yes,
right?
it did.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi disclosed a sale, shockingly, of 30,000 shares in Google's parent company, Alphabet, just about 1 month before the Justice Department opened their antitrust lawsuit into Google. This is not the first time that Nancy Pelosi has had very curious, coincidental...
She's a financial wizard. So
she must be. She must. I mean, completely incompetent in literally every other thing that she does. But maybe her second calling was to just become an investment advisor, because she seems to have gotten very rich being a lawmaker here in this country and having access and being privy to certain things that may be taking place or not be taking place. So shockingly, she just sold all of those shares of Google. And I would like to just add into this story here.
So great.
Senator Josh Hawley, this is so based, right? He's proposing that a new act that bars lawmakers and their spouses from owning and trading stocks while in office. Now, the bill's title is Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments Act, which, if you take the first letter of each of those words, it spells out Pelosi.
That's a masterclass in trolling.
Act, isn't it?
So great.
The Pelosi Act will prevent elected leaders from owning securities and investments while in office, which is like, why the hell do we not already have that? Like,
common sense.
Right. So I'm sure it's not going to go anywhere. But between 2007 and 2020, Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi, they saw their stock portfolios worth go up by as much as $30 million.
So ridiculous.
Just $30 million.
In the similar way that the entire political, everyone in politics was probably pissed at the Biden family for making it so overt on how they get rich through their family members. I guarantee you everybody, as soon as Hawley put this out there, was like, bro, Hawley, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, when this goes up for a vote, well, it's not even going to go to a vote. Everyone's going to be like,
it should go for a vote.
Right.
That'd be awesome.
oh, it'd be so awesome. I just don't think they'll ever allow it to, because they make a killing off of gaming the system. A killing.
And I want to point out, too, this should be a bipartisan... I mean, I'm not talking about the lawmakers themselves, but American citizens, right? Like, we should all be able to say, that's a problem, guys, especially when you look at the charts that they've put forth with how much money th's people are making. It's obviously red for Republican and blue for Democrat. There's a whole lot of red in there. Way more red than I'm comfortable with. Looking at you, Dan Crenshaw. And so it's like, Why can the American public not come together and be like, that thing that you guys are doing in Congress, all of you, is really bad and we should be pushing you guys to not do it?
It's almost like they're running for Congress not to serve the people, but to have political influence and make a lot of money.
No.
I don't know.
They're just public servants, Matt.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, speaking of Dan Crenshaw, someone put a chart together and they put all like the big money makers that game, the stock market. And they rated it on how often they beat the odds and make tons of money. And I remember Nancy Pelosi was pretty high up there. One spot above Nancy Pelosi was Dan Crenshaw.
Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah. Dan Crenshaw, I don't know, he really, I don't know if he pulled the wool over my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, or if he was actually genuine and sincere when he got there, but once he got there, it was corrupting, and so it just corrupted him. I don't know. I'm going to go with that.
Well, I feel like that probably is the most likely scenario. And look, I'm not trying to give Dan Crenshaw the benefit of any doubt. I can't stand the guy, but you see that happen way too often, right? For me to think that it's anything except, power corrupts. And so these people go in, they get wined and dined, they get these lobbyists promising them all of these things, and they get just sort of swept away in all of it. It's no excuse. I mean, I think it's disgusting. But it really does feel like it's not just Dan Crenshaw, it's a pattern of people doing that. Could that many people just manipulate the American public and find their way in, even though they just, didn't believe a word they said? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think the majority of them go in, thinking that. I tell you what, there's an awesome movie that's actually, it was such a big satire back in the day, but it was Eddie Murphy, The Distinguished Gentleman. You guys ever see that? Yeah. That's just how it is now. I mean, it was a joke back then, although they pretty much knew that's how it was. That is exactly how our government operates right now. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. You see them when they enter into office, they have nothing.
Yeah.
They're people just like me.
Right.
They're there because there's no term limits. Another thing that needs to go up for a vote, which I think is, right?
Yeah, but it's Ted Cruz. He always proposes that and then
doesn't go anywhere.
Right, nothing, right. Of course they're not going to vote.
It's almost like asking Big Pharma to actually assess their own product.
Right.
Oh,
They're
this
running the
stuff,
studies.
this is really bad. Yeah, we decided to come out and tell you that it was really bad. Why would they do it? There's no incentive for them to do it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Pfizer's analytics on the effects of the vaccine, wasn't that due like 2 years ago or 1 year ago or something like that? Like it was mandated. They said we're going to release this information. I think it was probably a year ago. Still still crickets. We're not seeing anything on that. I doubt we will ever see it. Oh, I bet they did an investigation, but only to combat all the lawsuits that are coming out. Again, I think in 12 to 16 months.
Yeah. All right. We got to take a break. We'll be back.
That's good.
Okay.
United States service members who were fired for refusing to comply with the Pentagon's COVID-19 vaccine mandate are apparently now being forced to pay back their original recruitment bonuses.
Oh, wow.
Which Jason's, I don't have to tell you guys, is like a complete just slap in the face to them. You know who agrees? Marsha Blackburn, Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, who we contacted, and she gave us the statement. United States service members are being forced to pay back recruitment bonuses after being fired for Biden's draconian COVID mandate. This is a slap in the face to brave men and women who have volunteered to defend our nation. This is really, really dystopian stuff that's happening in this country. I hate to leave it on a grim note, but I'm gonna, because you guys need to pay attention, because we got to stop the train from going off the tracks. And we still have time, but not very much.
How much time do we have?
For the show, 20 seconds.
I had a rant, and there's no way I'm going to start it, because you know me. Dang it.
Leave no man behind, apart from everybody.
Yeah, right, exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, just another day in the news. Thank you guys for being here, Jason, Matt, and we will see you guys tomorrow.